Yeah, I heard you talking and saying some things that I agreed with. So you live here?
Yes, my name is Vanessa Jones Hall. My family been out here since 1951. We were one of the first 10 families to move into the development. So my family evolved over here. This is a community of generations, and we pride ourselves of great wealth of history here, and we always had community involvement. And as I was saying earlier when we was talking about the different things that's happening here in the community, along with negotiating with NYC about what's happening not just to this building but the entire development, we were one of the developments that were hit heavily by Hurricane Sandy. And I worked on that project, and with working on that project, you see that that disaster was like a sign of hope for us in a sense. It sounds crazy, but it was true. That meant to us, NYC has to come out and pay attention to what's really going on in the community and how the community is failing, meaning that it's failing in its infrastructure, because this infrastructure is old. It's very old, and it's where you putting things in new and still connecting it to old legs, as opposed to stop doing patchwork. Just do it completely. This was only meant to last for so long before it had to be renewed. You see what I'm saying? It was just like the bridges. You also only have it for maybe 100 years. Now you see it's coming, it's starting to rot away. It's starting to fall. Anything that ages, that's what happens. And this is what we're dealing with in this community. We're still dealing with a lot of things that are the originals. So it's time for it to be changed. But in the same token, as we do all this hoopla and we thank you for coming out to hear us out, but in the same token, we need the community to come out. We need everyone in the community to feel, we feel the same way. We just need to show that we feel the same way by coming out and showing that we're tired. Because we are. We're tired of them thinking that this is a community that don't mean nothing, that don't care about nothing, and that's far from the truth. A sad part is the 6% of what happens of negativity in our communities gets 95% attention. And that loses away from the dynamics of the real communities here. It loses away from the fact that these are hardworking people who wants the same like any other community. Get rid of whatever negativity we have that's damaging us or bringing harm towards us, and show that we just want the same. We want a clean community. We want a community that's safe. And we want a community that's not falling apart. Even when they put the stuff for the Sandy project, when they renewed some of the apartments that we was underwater, and some of the building over here across the street, they have ground floor apartments. All those apartments had to be redone, and all of them had to be moved. All of them had to be moved out of their apartments in order to get their apartments renovated. And even when the new stuff came, like the cabinets or what have you, they started breaking off, So what you did was you didn't give us anything new. You gave us something that was refurbished, because it's supposed to last. And like I said, this disaster was supposed to bring hope to us, because we thought that NYC would say, hey, now we're going to really have to dig into these grounds of these communities and really see underneath us we're falling apart. We need new wiring. All these buildings here are affected by Hurricane Sandy. They had to rewire them and take the generators and everything that was underground and put them up on top of the roofs. That took a lot of time to do. And the families having to still go through this hardship after Hurricane Sandy, it doesn't make sense. But once again, we need the entire community to let NYC know this doesn't make sense. A lot of times people don't want to come out because they're tired of fussing and fighting with NYC. This has been ongoing. We have had changes in NYC where they have changed, the seats have changed bodies each time, but no one wants to stand up and stand right. When it comes to saying, okay, I'm going to take this seat and we're going to have enough and we're going to make sure we do the job right and do it correctly. Stop hiring these private contractors and nobody's properly monitoring them until something goes wrong. How about monitoring them during the process of the work? Because we watch what they do. They come in and out of our neighborhoods often, not coming in respectfully and leaving debris behind. You know what I'm saying? And as well as you got to make sure that the job is properly completed. We're tired of hearing that you got to hire another contractor because this contractor didn't do the right thing, and then that new contractor has to come in and do an assessment. That's a waste of time and money once again. Because now That's patchwork we got going on, because we got to patch up the work until they finish their assessment. And then when they come in with their assessment, they want more money because they got to take over another person's job and redo it. It's unfair. We're tired of it. And we want a change. And right now with this COVID going on, it's hard for it to be where you tell these people, oh, you don't have to worry about anything in your community, when you have an administration that don't care. This administration is not caring about us. This administration is not showing how to combat, because they're saying it's rising in the NYCHA communities. I work on the COVID project right now with Health and Hospital under Jacob Reese neighborhood settlement. And we're working in the NYCHA communities of Astoria, Ravenswood, and Queensbridge to make sure that the residents are aware that the numbers you are seeing are real. I have lost 56 loved ones, not all from the COVID, but it was also the COVID affected them. You know, there's a big difference on you actually perishing from that disease, and it's also affecting you. I have a sister that I had just recently buried because she was supposed to be on a pacemaker. They canceled her procedure knowing that if she did not get this procedure done, she would just die. And that's exactly what happened to her.
How old was she?
She was 52. And there's no reason why she's still not here with us. You know what I'm saying? But these are the kind of things that we were dealing with. A lot of people lost their loved ones due to different issues that COVID affected us on. And when you have an administration that is not cooperating and not being truthful with what's really going on in our land, it's horrifying. So here in the NYCHA community, especially here in Astoria Health, we are upset on so many different angles. We feel like we're being wrongly pulled in so many different directions where things are not being done properly, things are being on hold, and things that were on hold is going to just be totally dropped because of now this. But in the same token, I just want to say thank you for all of those who are out here listening to us and being compassionate about what we're going through. And it's such a fact that you're not hearing sad stories. You're hearing life-changing and life-affecting stories that you're hearing from us because of the fact that we are just like anybody else. We want a home that we can live in properly. We want a home that can sustain itself. We want a place to live that we don't have to fear in and out of. And that's from anybody who comes in and out of our communities, even when you're policing or you're non-policing. It's all about us coming together as a community because we all are responsible for what we do on behalf of each other. But in the same token, we have young people that we want to make sure that they grow up into a healthy community. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things that's happening. And with this gas outage in this building, this is not the first time we have gone through this where we've been out of gas, a building been out of gas for so length of time. One time it was 6 months. But it's a process that we have to go through because Con Ed has shut it down from one apartment. And now being that the lineage and everything is old, they have to be cautious before they turn it on. So that means it's going to take time for them to do that. They have to go underground and make sure everything is correct. They're dealing with another organization that's making sure it's correct or what their part has to be done. Then NYCHA has to come back and make sure they're checking everything going through. Then after that, they have to go through and bleed the lines out of each and every apartment, making sure everyone's safe. Because if you don't do that, God forbid, somebody go to turn on their gas and you have an explosion on your hand. So unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with. But we all came together here on behalf of Food First, with Evie and all of us and all of my beautiful people here that has come and joined us, along with my granddaughter, where's Madison? And we all just band together, and we're going to be here by their side as long as possible, and grateful that we have been blessed with this moment to make it happen. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Let me ask you one more thing. Obviously, easier said than done. But I think a lot of people watching, when they hear you once were out for 6 months without gas,
Yes.
Why is it that you guys don't feel comfortable withholding your rent, or at least saying we're not paying rent, or the government needs to provide this food every day? I know it's easier said than done, and I understand why, but it just seems to me, if this was like, white folk in Midtown Manhattan, they would not be paying their rent until this was fixed.
Well, I know, for example, going through Hurricane Sandy, when we had to relocate residents, and it was supposed to be for those residents whose apartment was damaged by Hurricane Sandy, had the option to temporarily move, or they can choose to move where they're going permanently. The word got out incorrectly, and fearful tactics were done, that if there were residents who, say, for example, were occupying apartment, like maybe have 3 bedrooms, which is a 5-bedroom apartment, but only have 2 people living there, they weren't supposed to downsize them because that was not a downsizing procedure or process. That was supposed to be where they get relocated because of a disaster. And it will be where they are able to return back to that apartment, and then whatever procedures take on from there, supposed to go. There were people that were being, from what we were being told, being given these fear tactics being done to them, saying that they would lose their apartment if they, once they leave, that they will not be allowed back. If anybody was already in a situation with their rent, that they were risking being evicted. So you have these tactics going on, and it's not the first time we've been in that situation where the people are afraid that they'll be evicted. So if you was to do something, some kind of action like that, or class action like that, it will have to be done in the proper manner, where the people will be prepared, not just not paying their rent, but holding on to it, making sure that they show proof that they have it. Because, say for example, this 6 months go by and we're in litigation and we wind up whether we lose or we win the fight. NYC's going to say it's the 22nd, today's the 24th. They could say by November 2nd, your rent has to be paid in full. You know what I'm saying? Although legally you could go to housing court and say 30 days because that's the normal practice. But just using this as an example, you'll have to have them, you have to keep it honest, transparent, and let them know what they're up against. Not having false hope, thinking that somebody's going to come and back them up on this, because just in case it doesn't happen. Because of the fact, once again, this administration that we have right now, and that's the only thing I can talk about, is the fact that that's not a safe haven right there.
You're talking about the mayor, de Blasio.
This administration that we have going on right now, we cannot, I'm not talking just on the local level, I'm talking about even federal, that we cannot rely on them. We can't rely on them right now because the federal government is not giving any money to New York. So even if de Blasio had any money to give, had any way of giving us anything, the administration of federal is already saying what they're not doing for us. So all the more reason why we're in a scare tactic. You know, that's a scare tactic, and so we're fearful of making sure that we are not going to get harmed personally because of the fact that you don't want to be. Now the governor has already pushed back to January for evictions. You know, and we don't want to be part of that process. You already have a lot of people already have lost their jobs, and their unemployment has ran out. So for you to talk about going on a rent strike, how are they going to continue to get assistance and helping them? Will they be qualified for a one-shot deal from public assistance? Will they be qualified for that extension through the housing courts? These are things we have to know that's guaranteed to make that action happen. Because you can't just say, okay, we're going to hold back our rent and we don't have nobody to help us. Or we're not making sure that we take it upon ourselves to be told, you got to make sure you keep track of your paperwork, showing that you have your rent and money orders. So that way when that happens, you're ready to say, here, I have my rent in full. Other than that, just to say a strike doesn't mean you keep the money. You have to have it prepared to give in. You holding on to your rent. Not paying your rent, but holding on to it as a tactic of protest to say, listen, we are tired and we had enough. And until you get things fixed, this is what we're going to do. But in the same token, explain to everyone what that means and what that entails and what is the consequences if you don't have it. You know what I'm saying? So to just say going on a rent strike is a lot of dynamics in there. You have a lot of things where people in these developments have been told so many different things and have been jilted. So the trust factor is not really there in the beginning, way before all of this. Okay, so it's all about earning and gaining the trust. So if you're going to earn and gain that trust, you have to show due diligence that you're there for us 100%, and not be there for a photo op, not be there to take a picture with us, not to get your face on the news. You have to be there fairly and honestly and show that you care, because we can do this together or not at all.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.